Okay, there we go. That's important as we move on. Expose yourself. Now, what I just told you could be a springboard into a lifestyle filled with seeking truth, real meaning, understanding, overstanding. In some communities, the churches are the last vestiges of hope, the final line of defense to many at-risk youth and fence-sitting adults. I used to be a fence-sitting adult, not anymore. Okay? Many people don't have a place to turn to when faced with adversity. The doors to the Lord and the Lord's houses are always open. The church is always seeking to invest in soul saving and putting folks back on track. Most of these serious issues plaguing our community, whether it be in the African American community or the European American community, such as illiteracy, teen pregnancy, AIDS, high divorce rates, a disproportionate amount of young African American men incarcerated, high school dropout rates, low graduation rates, and I'm sure y'all heard about this story about the girls in Massachusetts. 24 of these young girls, 15 years old, made a pact to get pregnant, and 17 of them got pregnant. We didn't get any love at home. My parents wasn't there. Okay? That's foul. That's foul. It's very foul. Okay? But again, they're not exposed. It's a lack of education. There's something going on that needs to be addressed. And this is what we're doing right now. We are addressing these issues. All these issues are preventable issues, whether it's health-related issues that are disrupting our daily lives, whether it's the food that we eat or lack thereof. All of the aforementioned can be reversed with prayer, education, and I'm not talking about waiting for your child to turn 5 or 6 and you sending him or her off to school and waiting on the school system to educate your child. I'm talking about 2 or 3 years old. From the time the child is moving, you got a book in his hand, okay? That's what we're talking about here. You're already leaving the child behind at a great disadvantage when they're 5 years old. And at the same Boys and Girls Club where I work, I look at some of the young African American boys and girls that are 5 years old. They don't have an extensive vocabulary. They talk about and some of the little European American boys and girls say, "That's very nice, Mr. That is so eloquent." That gets under my skin at times because these parents, these guardians, are not using the proper jargon around these kids. And it's hurting them. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Know your history. Thanks. So, most of these issues we already know about. I'm not going to dwell on too many of them. Okay? All of these wonderful sanctuaries we have around us are capable of making a difference. Everyone present should personally challenge his or herself, if not already, to become agents for change and willing to move in the right direction. A direction away from ignorance and complacency, because they do have a working relationship. I'll say it again. Complacency and ignorance work together. They have a relationship. I think they're roommates. We should not be willing to ignore, okay? When you ignore something that serious, you are a part of the problem if you don't address it. And you're responsible, especially if you're an adult. All persons within the sound of my voice must be active participants rather than passive observers or finger pointers. Everyone must be ready when the time is needed to become builders or spiritual construction workers, building the bridges to cross the pitfalls of ignorance. But even in this case, some builders do actually fall down. By building bridges over ignorance rather than going through ignorance, we can then sit down and translate the language barriers that some of us are facing. I also believe that volunteering your time and rendering your service is a good thing to do. Rendering your services for our community is one of the true giants of great character. Volunteering is an integral part of maintaining stability and even the integrity of a bridge, and perhaps in this case a spiritual bridge. Once community members acquire these concepts, they can then find easier transitions when it comes to understanding others outside of their community, ethnicity, linguistics, ancestry, and skin coloration. Remember, it is easier to develop friendship with people that we can identify with or look like us. If you got a MySpace page and you're grown and all your friends look like you might want to check yourself. I'll say it again. If you got a MySpace page and all your friends look like you and y'all are into the same thing, that just says a lot about yourself. You're not willing to branch out. It's cyberspace. It won't hurt you unless you're doing something negative with that cyberspace. Come back to bite you. But the thing is that that's an opportunity for you to talk to a little boy in China. That's an opportunity for you to flirt with somebody in Philadelphia, okay? Somebody outside of your little area. Get out of your comfort zone. This is what technology is for. These gentlemen back here didn't have cell phones 40 years ago, as these 10 and 12-year-olds have it now at the Boys and Girls Club. With the swift push of a send, they can call somebody in France, a long-distance call. They can call somebody in Cali and talk to them. It was hard for them to do back then. Okay, so we are actually living in a smaller world now, and that's important. So take advantage of it. We need to identify with people outside of our cultural sphere by bringing all the churches together and, as the young folks say, mixing it up a little bit. It's not wrong with mixing it up a little bit. Mixing it up a little bit, I am sure that in this social and spiritual experiment that God will have no doubt that this can and will succeed. In closing, a good support system like guardians, parents, grandparents, churches, good Samaritans, and community leaders are always the foundations for sustaining these concepts. They make it so much easier for our young people to prosper. If everyone plays their multifaceted roles in terms of volunteering, peer mentoring, fellowshipping, prayer, eating healthy because you have to live to get the message through, downplaying confrontations, educating each other, listening to your elders, watching children, even if they're not your children, you're still supposed to watch them, minimizing selfishness, and knowing your history. We got one guy, knowing your history. God will do the rest. Now, let's all continue to celebrate Juneteenth. Thank you.